Honest, we all kind of secretly think we're above average, right? It's just human nature. It's a lot like how 80% of people genuinely believe they are above average drivers. Today, we're going to unpack something that I think fascinates all of us, and that is human intelligence. For a really long time, we've been conditioned to think about intelligence in this highly traditional, almost mathematical way. We measure it by what someone knows, the facts they can memorize, the trivia they can rattle off, or how fast they can solve a complex equation. But modern psychology actually completely dismantles that traditional idea. The research suggests something entirely different and, frankly, way more interesting. Intelligence is not just a static database of knowledge in your head. So, if it's not just about what you know, what is it actually about? Let's look at what the science is. Okay, let's dive right into this. Are you as smart as you think? It's a bit of a provocative question, isn't it? Psychology shows us that true intelligence isn't exposed by a test score. It's actually revealed through how you react to brand new ideas and, crucially, whether you have the courage to challenge your own deeply held beliefs. It's a completely active process, not a passive one. Section 1. The intelligence illusion. Assuming you know it all. Section 2. The trap of certainty. Overconfidence bias. So, to understand this trap, we really have to look at this fascinating paradox from our source material. Ironically, one of the clearest signs of low intelligence is literally assuming you've already figured everything out. Think about that for a second. The moment you believe there is absolutely nothing left to learn, you are actually broadcasting a lack of intellectual depth. Our first sign of the intelligence illusion is assuming you're correct most of the time. Psychology links this straight to overconfidence bias. That's when a little bit of knowledge creates this false sense of absolute certainty. Truly intelligent people, they're always questioning their own conclusions. They look at a problem from multiple angles and wonder, what am I missing here? Imagine navigating a complex project at work. A smart leader assumes there are blind spots. But on the flip side, those with lower mental flexibility tend to feel incredibly confident about nearly everything they say or do. If you find that you almost never doubt yourself, there's a very good chance you're completely overlooking something important. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is our second sign, refusing to change your opinion. Just think about how we handle new evidence. Highly intelligent people treat new facts like water for a plant. They soak it up to help their understanding grow. When convincing evidence appears, they pivot. But, if you're clinging to your opinions like a brick wall just to protect your ego, or maybe just to win a debate at a dinner party, your thinking is becoming incredibly rigid. True intellectual growth happens when you actually let new evidence change your mind. And that leads us to an absolutely crucial takeaway here. Rigid thinking completely prevents improvement. I really want to emphasize this because society often tells us that changing our minds means we're weak or wishy-washy. Actually, scratch that. Psychologically speaking, changing your mind when faced with new evidence isn't a weakness at all. It's a vital mechanism for your own intellectual improvement. If your mind is made of stone, nothing new can take root there. Section 3. Surface-level thinking. Oversimplifying reality. Moving on, our third sign involves making complicated topics seem overly simple. Have you ever noticed how some people lean heavily on absolute words? Words like always or never, or they'll dismiss a super nuanced topic by just saying, well, it's obvious. Life is rarely just black or white. Our source material points out that relying on these absolute statements often reflects shallow thinking. It's kind of like trying to take a messy, complicated reality and shove it into a tiny, easily digestible box so you just don't have to think too hard about it. To put it simply, genuine intelligence recognizes that most situations have layers and a whole lot of nuance. Truly intelligent people steer clear of reducing complex issues down to simple absolutes. Whether they're dissecting a global economic shift or just trying to figure out why a coworker is upset, they are totally comfortable living in the gray area. They understand that most human behavior, global events, and scientific questions are incredibly complicated and require a level of deep, nuanced thought that words like always or never simply can't accommodate. And this highlights our fourth sign, which is a lack of curiosity. I'd love for you to ask yourself right now, do you regularly ask why or how? Curiosity is actually one of the absolute strongest traits linked to human intelligence. People who don't bother to ask, why did this happen? Or how does this work? Usually stay stuck with a very surface-level understanding of the world. They just accept things exactly as they're handed to them. So the crucial point here is this. The moment you believe you know enough, your learning starts to slow way down. Psychology deeply links curiosity to intelligence because curiosity is the engine that actively keeps the brain learning, adapting, and expanding. If you stop asking questions, well, you essentially turn off the engine of your own intellect. Section 4. The missing inner mirror.
blaming everyone else.
And that brings us to our fifth and final sign: blaming everyone else for your problems. Now, while it's absolutely true that outside circumstances do matter, constantly placing the responsibility for your life on others shows a massive lack of self-awareness. Psychology connects intelligence with a concept called metacognition. Basically, this is the ability to step back and reflect on your own thoughts and actions. It's thinking about how you think. If you're constantly pointing the finger outward, you never examine yourself. And without that self-examination, you completely miss the opportunity to learn from your mistakes and grow. Section 5. The true measure of intelligence: thinking critically. Okay, now that we've explored the psychology, let's quickly recap these 5 traps. We've got the overconfidence of assuming you're always right, the stubbornness of refusing new evidence, the habit of oversimplifying complex problems, losing your curiosity, and finally lacking an inner mirror and constantly blaming others. What you really need to take away from this is that these aren't just bad habits that might hold back your career. They fundamentally limit the very way your brain is able to think and process reality. And honestly, the most dangerous part? Sometimes the biggest sign of low intelligence is never even realizing these traps are there, holding you back in the first place.
So we arrive at the core takeaway of this entire explainer. Psychology makes this one thing wonderfully clear. Being smart isn't about looking smart to the people around you. It isn't about having all the answers locked and loaded. Real intelligence is an action. It's about thinking critically. It's about adapting when you're presented with new info. And above all, it's about remaining open, adaptable, and intellectually humble enough to constantly question yourself.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought taken straight from the core of our source material. Take a good, honest look in that inner mirror we just talked about. Which of these habits do you notice in yourself? Look, we all fall into these traps from time to time. It's just human nature. But recognizing them is literally the very first step toward expanding your mind and proving your own intelligence. Thanks so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep challenging your own beliefs, and never stop learning.